Hi guys, this is Jason again. This video is strictly my effort to get us as a collective body to break free of the dungeon programming that has been laid out all before us. This concerns not only the Book of Mormon, but also what's been found in it. So, in this video, I'm going to show you that a Phoenix phenomenon catastrophe from ancient America is preserved in the Book of Mormon, in that it is falsely dated and on purpose, that the deception is traced all the way back to Rome. Phlegon of Bithynia, he documented a fantastic report of the Phoenix phenomenon that occurred in 31 BC. You guys know that date from all my prior presentations. And this was stolen by the early Roman Church Fathers and attributed to the year 33 AD. So too did prior Phoenix descriptions get taken from earlier writings, and the church basically used them to forge the Phoenix passages that are found in the Gospel of Nicodemus and in the very intriguing Pilate's report to Tiberius Caesar. As I have shown in my Phoenix and Dark Scriptures materials, not one of the historians alive that were alive in 33 AD ever recorded the sun darkening or the earthquakes that are found in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because they didn't happen in 33 AD. They happened in 31 BC. This is a 63-year difference. Now, this goes into a lot of other things that I've put on my channel, such as Apollonius of Tyana and how the Giza story was constructed. But we're not going to get into that. You can go to my Dark Scriptures playlist to get that material. But the Phoenix disaster of 31 BC, it is widely documented in my published books and my videos. The Book of Mormon has a passage concerning a devastating Phoenix event that destroyed many cities of the ancient Americas. Now, we are told that it is dated about the time of the crucifixion of Christ. However, Mormon commentaries are filled with arguments over which they argue over the dating systems that were employed. They argue for or against the lunar solar dating systems, though just purely lunar dating, and the application of the Mayan tun of 360 days. Or the modern 365.25 days of our modern calendar today. Some Mormon scholars try to make sense of Mormon chronology by employing the old 354-day lunar cycle, but it only further promotes the confusion. The real problem is trying to make an ancient event fit their crucifixion chronology. That's where all the problems come. As I've shown in my videos, the Phoenix, I have a video on the Phoenix and the crucifixion. I've shown you guys it just doesn't work. They're force-fitting all these things, and these are why scholars today have these problems. The great ancient American destruction by the Phoenix occurred in May 31 BC, and I've provided a lot of textual, monumental, and mathematical evidence in support of this. The final year and the last date of the inscription on the date steels of the Olmecs was 31 BC. Yeah, Olmec cities were emptied and their civilization vanished in the Americas. On the opposite side of the world, in the Mediterranean, it was the Battle of Actium, when the earthquakes afflicted Greece and Judea. Yeah, a sky dragon was seen over Egypt. Things fell from the sky. After 31 BC, the Phoenix would not be experienced again for 276 years, in the year 246 AD. So, in the Book of Mormon, there's a passage called 3rd Nephi, chapter 8, verses 5 through 23. We have an account of this terrible 31 BC event. But the Mormon publishers claim that it's dated 33 AD to align it with the crucifixion of Jesus. We're going to go ahead and just bypass that discrepancy right now and just stick to the actual documented facts in the Book of Mormon about this event. And I'll let you guys decide if they're right or if they're wrong. So in 3rd Nephi, chapter 8, we read, starting at verse 5. Let me get these notes on. All right. I'm going to read these notes to you guys real quick because this is really intriguing. Let's see. All right. And it came to pass in the 34th year, in the first month, on the 4th day of the month, there arose a great storm, such as one as has never been known in all the land. And there was also a great and terrible tempest, and there was a terrible thunder, insomuch that it did shake the whole earth, as if it was about to divide asunder. And there was exceedingly sharp lightnings, such as never have been known in all the land. And the city of Zarahemla did take fire, and the city of Moroni did sink into the depths of the sea, and the inhabitants thereof were drowned. And the earth was carried up upon the city of Moroni, that in the place of the city there came a great mountain. And there was a great and terrible destruction in the land southward. But behold, there was a more great terrible destruction in the land northward. For behold, the whole face of the land was changed because of the tempest and the whirlwinds and the thunderings and the lightnings and the exceedingly great quaking of the whole earth. And the highways were broken up, and the level roads were spoiled, and many smooth places became rough. And many great notable cities were sunk, and many were burned, and many were shaken till the buildings thereof had fallen to the earth, and the inhabitants thereof were slain, and the places were left desolate. And there were some cities which remained, but the damage thereof was exceedingly great, and there was many in them who were slain. And there were some who were carried away in the whirlwind, and whither they went no man knoweth, save they know who are carried away. And thus the face of the whole earth became deformed because of the tempests and the thunderings and the lightnings and the quaking of the earth. And it came to pass that when the thunderings and the lightnings and the storm and the tempests and the quakings of the earth did cease, for behold, they did last for about the space of 3 hours, and it was said by some that the time was even greater. Nevertheless, all these great and terrible things were done in about the space of 3 hours. And then behold, there was darkness upon the face of the land. And it came to pass that there was thick darkness upon the face of the land, insomuch that the inhabitants thereof, who had not fallen, could feel the vapor of darkness. And there could be no light, because of the darkness, neither candles, neither torches, neither could there be fire kindled with their fine and exceedingly dry wood, so that there could not be any light at all. Guys, that's the text. That's what it says. So, you have to decide for yourself what that sounds like, because here's my analysis. My analysis of this passage excuse me, basically determines this is not the same sun darkening episode as mentioned in the gospel accounts. It doesn't comport at all with what we find in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Here is the Book of Mormon's particulars. We just read a great storm. We read a terrible tempest. We read terrible. It kept using the word terrible. Terrible thunder did shake the whole earth. Sharp lightnings. It said sharp. So cities are burned and cities sink into the depths of the sea. It wasn't singular. It said cities. So, and the inhabitants thereof are drowned. Cities vanish, replaced with mountains. The whole face of the land is changed. The inhabitants are slain. Some were carried away in a whirlwind, and nobody knows where they went. That means their bodies were not found. Thick darkness described as a vapor of darkness. That's what it said. It said vapor of darkness that they could feel. In the New Testament Gospels, the crucifixion of Jesus, which is supposed to be a divine event for the good of mankind, does not ever mention that humans lost their lives in a catastrophe during the time Jesus was suffering and his death. No cities were burned, buried, sank into the sea. No thunder from the skies was so loud it changed the shape of the ground. Populations of the earth didn't vanish into the sky. In the Gospels, it was simply a darkness and an earthquake. Not only do I believe the author of the Book of Mormon incorporated a Phoenix event into 3 Nephi chapter 8 verses 5 through 21, but I'm also aware that the word Nephi is similar to the older Egyptian Noph, which was the reverse of the ancient Phen, from which we got Phoenix. In my presentations, I show how many Greek words, many Greek titles, words, named for cities, people, they are the absolute mirror image, the reverse of older Egyptian epithets, titles, and names. But my thesis is not supported merely by my understanding of how the Church of Rome has stolen Phoenix records and interpolated them into their version of history. No, I can show from just the Book of Mormon itself that it is a work of carefully laid out deception. Guys, the Book of Mormon is another Vatican release with the same MO, angel religion. It uses real history and mixes it with falsehood. It takes real Phoenix episodes and relates them to the 33 AD to support the crucifixion event. Yahweh from the very beginning was revealed through a burning bush to Moses. This is an angel revealing themselves to a human. It started Judaism. An angel, Gabriel, appeared to Mary and Joseph. This started Christianity. This is not in the Gospel of Marcion, the oldest story of Jesus, but it is in the Roman version that we call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. An angel, also Gabriel, appeared to Muhammad, gave birth to Islam. Islam, as we will soon get into, is packed with Phoenix data, and Muhammad was early on influenced by an agent of the Vatican. He was married to her. This is the subject of other people's research. Now, the angel Moroni appeared to Joseph in 1829. This started Mormonism, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Now, here are the facts of scholarship concerning the Book of Mormon, which was published in 1830 and alleged to be an account of the Israelite descendants who were in the ancient Americas taken from the plates of Nephi that were written in gold, and also in the script of Reformed Egyptian. But here's the problem. No evidence of a Reformed Egyptian language has ever been discovered. This is from scholarship. Scholars have pointed out a number of anachronisms within the text. This means it cannot be relied as a historical source for dating. This supports what I'm telling you, that the Nephi text about this Phoenix phenomenon episode wasn't 33 AD at all. They just want it to be. It's describing what happened to the Olmec civilization in ancient America in 31 BC. So, general archaeological or genetic evidence has not supported the book's statements about the indigenous peoples of the Americas. Excuse me. There are many things asserted as fact in the Book of Mormon concerning indigenous people in the ancient Americas, but they don't comport with what archaeology and anthropology have found. The text has also undergone many revisions with some very significant changes. This is a rebuttal against its divine origin. The Book of Mormon claims to be the original writings of Nephite leaders in ancient America, yet it contains paraphrased quotations of the 17th century edition of the King James Bible and the deuterocanonical books. These are all written by Rome. So the deuterocanonical books are hard to say, like pseudepigraphical, which Joseph Smith's Bible, the one Joseph Smith had in his possession, quoted these books in its own commentary. This is damning. Furthermore, the language of the Book of Mormon closely mimics the Elizabethan English used in the King James Version, with 19th century English mixed into it. In fact, the Book of Mormon quotes 25,000 words from the King James Old Testament and over 2,000 words from the King James Version New Testament. If it's a work of supernatural origin, why is it plagiarizing earlier versions of materials, books. There's also the botanical problem in the Book of Mormon. The fact that the author didn't know and mentioned over and over wheat and barley and olives, and there's other produce and plants and cereals that are mentioned, but they've never been found in the Americas at that time. These were brought by Europeans in the last 400 and 500 years. But the author of the Book of Mormon would not have known that. Also, animals in North America, there were no cows, there were no donkeys, asses, horses, oxen. Yeah, none of these were here. But the author of the Book of Mormon in the 1820s to 1830 would not have known that. Europeans brought them hundreds and hundreds of years later. So this is really a problem with the Book of Mormon as well. North America had no lions, no leopards, nor sheep at this time, but they're all in the Book of Mormon. Honeybees were brought here by Europeans much later, mentioned all in the Book of Mormon. So there's lists in the Book of Esther, I think it's Esther in the Book of Mormon. We have a whole list of domesticated cattle and cows and oxen, all a separate species. They did not exist in the Americas. They weren't here. There's no evidence that they were here. Never been dug up. They did not even exist. We just don't have any evidence whatsoever of any of these claims, the veracity of the claims in the Book of Mormon. It's like somebody just wrote all this up based off the information they had at the time. So other things like butter. Butter is also mentioned, but it could not possibly exist since no milk-producing animals were found in the Americas at that time. And the clothing material of silk and wool clothing, they're found in the Book of Mormon, but they weren't in the Americas at the time. So it's just, the list goes on, and I'm not going to bore you guys with all that. But we have some other problems with the Book of Mormon, such as things that were very popular sentiments in the 1820s and 30s when the Book of Mormon was written. They crept into the text. One of them is about skin color. So check this out. In the Book of Mormon, we have references, and anybody can Google this, but we have references to when people disobey God and they're not believing the Holy Writ. Their skin darkens, their pigmentation darkens, and they become like abominations. This is what is described in the book because of their disobedience. Their skin changes color and they get darker because they disobeyed God. But when people obey God and they're living by the scriptures or living by the Holy Writ according to the Book of Mormon, their skin whitens, because they've accepted the true gospel. And the actual text in second NE, y'all can Google this yourselves. This second I don't remember. It starts with an NE, but it's in the Book of Mormon. It's a book. It's second NE something, chapter 30, verse 6. It's very specific about the Lamanites. When they accepted the true gospel, they became white and delightsome. But since the year 1981, the Mormons have been sanitizing their text. And in the Book of Mormon today, all those published after 1981, it says the Lamanites became pure and delightsome. But that's not the original. The original was they became white. And it's in the passage where if you're evil, you become dark-skinned. So these were popular notions in the 19th century. And they crept into the text. So Joseph Smith, he claimed that he received many revelations from God, and he began to introduce many doctrines to his church. One of the doctrines was polygamy, a practice that he denied publicly, but he practiced secretly. In fact, polygamy was the downfall of Joseph Smith, and he was killed in 1844. Yeah, he was killed behind a controversy involving polygamy. So we have a problem, guys. We have another large body of people believing by virtue of their programming because their programming is in this book, and they have been programmed to believe that anybody who attacks the integrity of the scriptures of this book, the Book of Mormon, is an attack on God, is an attack on their faith. This is dungeon programming. This is precisely another rabbit hole that was invented by Rome. And the real truth in the narrative is that it cites a real Phoenix phenomenon event and then tries to wrap it around a fiction. This is Jason of Archaix.com. I tried to keep this presentation as short as possible. Tomorrow we're going to do our live, and we're going deeper. We're continuing what we did the other day in our live when we're separating the psyops from the real realities. There is an object hidden in the sky. It has been here many times. In ancient times, it was known as the Phoenix. It is approaching perihelion. It is located at 23.5 degrees north of the ecliptic and is presently in descending node. On May 15th, 2040, it will return. On May 16th, our world will be a very different place.